So I'm Shai. I graduated from Binghamton University in May, and I work at UJA Federation of New York now. Yeah, Federation. I was in Diller too, and I made a book for Matan's parents and wanted to give to Metro West that I'll get to after, but it's a compilation of messages and photos from my cohort because sadly a lot of them could not be here tonight, but I'm representing all of them. So when I was in 11th grade, I was nominated for the Diller program. Then I had no idea where my Diller journey would lead. I most definitely never imagined that I would end up losing anyone that I was going to get to know through this program, someone just like me. Diller was the beginning of what would lead to many Jewish experiences that would help shape who I am as a young Jewish woman. Diller was unique, though, as it provided me with a reality that no other program has ever given me. Diller allowed me to see firsthand the lives of the Israelis that are my age that are living in Israel, since as Americans, we were getting acceptance letters to college, and our Israeli friends were getting their letters from the army. Surprisingly, though, they were really excited, and we were just a little freaked out. The Israeli army had always been an inspiration to me for this reason, along for its ethics system and its passionate souls behind the uniforms. To be honest, though, I never realized how distant I had been from the realities behind the uniforms and the glamour of the pride until I received the message from a Diller friend of mine last summer, and it finally hit too close to home. The message said that Matan, our Matan, had fallen. I was interning at UJA Federation at the time, where I'm thankful to say I work now. I happened to look at my phone and was shocked to see a message in my Diller group from Facebook after 4 years that had barely been touched. We had of course gone together over the years, but this group, inclusive of all of us, had never been touched in 4 years. An American Diller that had made Aliyah after high school got the news first and shared it with all of us. I composed myself the best that I could to make it to a conference room alone, and then I completely broke down. Matan's loss shattered the lens from which I had always viewed fallen soldiers. Before this, every loss had upset me, as I imagined. I'm sorry, I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Before this, every loss had upset me, as I had always imagined the soldiers' friends and families, and what they must have felt like. But this time, I was a friend. I was a friend this time, and the overwhelming feeling of sadness, heartbreak, and longing to be in Israel, standing by the sides of my Israeli Diller friends at his funeral, was immense and truly indescribable. At a time in the war when so many were fearful of traveling to Israel, all I wanted to be was there. I was thankful I found out about him within the walls of UJA Federation, because I was surrounded by Jews and non-Jews alike that understood what was going on in Israel and could empathize with my heartbreak. But once I stepped outside the comfort of the walls of UJA Federation and I stood on the street of New York City, I felt completely lost. I felt that no one understood me. I felt no one understood what was going on in Israel, and no one would ever understand how I felt about what just happened to my friend. No one, that is, but my Diller family. The Americans stuck together for comfort and love through the hardest time we had ever experienced as a group, in a time that was completely unexpected. Matan was kind. He was gentle, and he was giving to all. He was quiet, but when he spoke, everyone knew to listen. And not to mention, every girl had a crush on him they saw him because he was gorgeous. Matan was strong, and he is, and forever will be my hero. He risked his life to protect our homeland, and he lost his life at the age of 22, which is how old I am now. Feeling helpless, being so far away from Israel, myself and 2 other American Dillers were inspired to make Matan's memory a blessing, and we opened up a fund in his name. And we made it with the Metro West Federation, and it's called the Matan Fund. Since then, generous donations have been made to the fund, a video was presented about Matan at the Metro West Federation event for Yom HaZikaron, and bracelets were made in his honor by 2 girls in Diller 7 to be sold, all proceeds returning to the fund. Almost $11,000 has been raised in Matan's name, and I couldn't be more grateful. This money will be used for Israeli Diller scholarship funds, for Israelis in Rishon LeZion to be able to go on Diller. It will also be used for programming at the Matnas in Rishon LeZion, where we led a camp for Ethiopian children during my summer on Diller. Lastly, for a contribution to the IDF, because I sold these bracelets this past year during my last year of college, and although a lot of my friends couldn't relate to Diller or Rishon LeZion because they had never heard of the program or had never heard of the city, every single person could relate to the IDF. And I have American friends that made Aliyah following graduation to join the IDF, and they all have bracelets. So part of the money will go there. The bracelet reads a quote in Hebrew and in English. It's not over until it's over, and even when it's over, it's still not over. This quote was said multiple times in my Diller program, and it was only after Matan had died that many of us found out this quote was from his army unit. This quote resonates with me because even though Matan is no longer with us physically, he will now be with us in our hearts forever, and it's our turn to share his story. I spread Matan's story to my peers at Binghamton this past year, and his story became an inspiration to everyone. Again, especially to the friends of mine that have just made Aliyah to join the IDF. I said a prayer in his honor at our Yom HaZikaron ceremony, and his face on the slideshow of fallen soldiers during the ceremony was a familiarity I had wished to never ever experience. What happened with Matan is part of what inspires me to do what I do at UJA Federation. I work in development in New York City, and I inspire others to contribute to our causes to better the lives of Jews living in the New York area, as well as abroad, and especially in Israel. Last summer, when I was so crushed and torn to be here in America, when I felt like all of my friends were in Israel at this funeral and I could not be there, my cousin told me that it is almost as important, well, it's almost more important for me to be in America as a passionate Jew than in Israel, because they're all passionate. They all have that pride. This is what makes Israel comfortable, and it instills a longing to return in anyone that boards a plane to come home from there. In the diaspora, we may not have this comfort that we have in Israel, but we do have an opportunity that is not presented in Israel that we cannot take for granted. Passionate, knowledgeable, accepting, inspired, and dedicated Jews are harder and harder to come by here, but all of you are already halfway there because you've been chosen to be a Diller. Take no moment and no relationship for granted in your experience in Diller, because none of us have a crystal ball to predict the future. It is just as much as our responsibility here in America to protect the Jewish people and our homeland as it is for our Israelis to protect Israel like Matan did for all of us. On behalf of my Diller brothers and sisters from Diller 2 who were unable to be here tonight, I want to thank Shmulik and Matan Gotlib for sharing their beautiful son Matan with us. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for both being here. It's so special to meet you.